All right, we should be good to go.
All right, super. Hey, so we're going to kick this off. Yeah, Charlie and I are certainly honored to host as co-chairs and moderators for the 2021 NIMFLA Pollinator Working Group. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to have you on board. I did want to have a special thanks to NIMFLA leadership for accommodating us. Originally, this session was scheduled for Tuesday, but it overlapped with the AFWA pollinator session. And so NIMFLA jumped through a number of hoops to change this session so we wouldn't have that particular conflict. So thank you very much. But speaking of that other AFWA pollinator session, that is recorded, and if you haven't seen it and you like pollinator type stuff, it's really a good session, right? There's a lot of super good information in there, particularly about the status of monarchs that are in there. And one of the things I wanted to mention in particular that they talked about in that AFWA section that's of relevance to this particular group is just note that I think their species status assessment for monarchs came out in December. That's information is posted on the Fish and Wildlife Service website. And what they found was they decided that listing was warranted but precluded. So monarchs are warranted for listing but precluded. And what that means is that there's between, I don't know, there's about 15 to 20 other species at the moment that are in their hopper that have a higher priority. And so they're going to get to monarchs here eventually. But at the moment, it's warranted but precluded for listing for monarchs, right? And, you know, I guess the numbers weren't stellar this year again down in their overwintering grounds in Mexico. They were down 26% from last year. And even last year, they were significantly down from the year before. So the numbers are decreasing down there, the overwintering grounds, and the Western population in particular is really in sad shape, where the assessments that they did, they found less than 2,000 Western monarchs in their typical overwintering grounds that they've got there. So it's a super grim situation there for that Western population. Charlie, did you have anything you wanted to add before we put the slides on?
Well, just going off of that too, on Fort Hood, I know we do a lot of work with a lot of research with monarch butterflies, and we're just kind of curious to hear if this listing decision, if there are any impacts to you, any of you, or any of your installations. So if you want to write that in the comments or chime in at the end, feel free.
Yeah, I suspect, Charlie, you're right. There's bound to be Section 7 implications for that. It's not my area of expertise, but certainly for something to us to follow here closely this year for any new requirements. Hey, let's see. I have some slides up. Hope you all can see them. Okay. Let's see if the screen show thing works. Oh, yeah, there we go. So, can you guys see that? Okay. For the screen share, there's no way I can tell.
I'm seeing it, Doug.
Oh, okay, that's good. Thank you. Well, in any case, this is kind of our just quick agenda for today. Don't have a whole lot, but I'm the outgoing chair, co-chair, and Charlie's going to be around for another year, and the important thing here is if you're a NIMFLA member, and please join our listserv, right? Our Pollinator Working Group listserv. And the place to do that is on the NIMFLA website under the pull down for working groups. Go to the Pollinator Working Group site and hit the add to our mailing list, and you'll automatically be put on there, and any correspondence that goes out from the co-chairs or allows you to communicate with one another for having everybody's email address. Please do. Please sign up for that. There's not, once a month or less, you'll get material from us, whether it's new websites, best management practices.
I'm pretty sure I'm bringing stuff over tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey,
That's free.
Nope, it's just free.
little
We
bit of
just need
static
that.
in the background. If
Start on
somebody
it.
could put themselves on mute, that would be helpful. So just check your mute buttons.
And then we'll type that.
Thank you. And we're gonna show the new winner for the next co-chair.
Hey. Hello. How are you?
Yeah. Once again, mute, please. So
Hey, Doug, one comment. Could you put your presentation in full screen though?
oh, I thought well, I guess it is full screen on my computer, so I'm gonna have to cut it down. So I'll hit escape and get it out of there. That's about as good as I can do. Yeah, that's as good as I can do. Is that better?
It's a little better, yeah. Thanks.
Okay. We got a couple slides on some pollinator resources that are out there for DoD, and we'll go over some of the examples that some of you all submitted to us when we had a recent query for pollinator projects that are going on at various installations around DoD. And then we'll turn it over to Charlie for the working group members, and it'll be an open forum for our members to discuss what's on their mind. All right. So in any case, I did want to announce it was a unanimous decision. Thank you for standing up, but Mr. Jessup Whiteshelt is our new co-chair for the Pollinator Working Group. So congratulations, Jessup. We're happy to have you, and talking to you and reading through your bio here. You are obviously more than qualified for this particular position. You probably manage more endangered pollinator species than any other installation in DoD. So congratulations to that. And I was just going to have you say a quick hello to your members and just quickly introduce yourself.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I'm sure if you had a chance to read my bio, I don't need to go over that again, but we do have a lot of pollinator species in Fort McCoy. That's kind of what made me lean towards becoming a co-chair for the pollinator group, because we have numerous species that are up for petition for listing, including like the regal fritillary, the frosted elf, and the auto skipper. And also we have the rusty patch bumblebee and Karner blue butterfly. We've been managing for the Karner blue butterfly in Fort McCoy for 30 years now. So, we're no, rookie or new participant in the managing for pollinators. And we have a very extensive pollinator program for the Karner blue butterfly that maps all of our lupin throughout the entire installation on a 10-year reoccurring basis. We have a agreement with the Fish and Wildlife Service for lupin take that we mitigate through off-site mitigation with a state forest just north of Fort McCoy. So we do a lot of work with pollinators. I just today, I guess yesterday, received a biological opinion for our rusty patched bumblebee consultation with the Fish and Wildlife Service. I've been working on that pretty much my entire time I've been working with the DoD for the last year and a half. So I'm happy to have that off my plate. But yeah, we do a lot of work with them, and I'm excited to take part in this pollinator working group and being a co-chair and working with Charlie over the next year.
Outstanding, Jessup. Congratulations! A virtual round of applause for you, and hopefully you can share some of your Section 7 experiences with what to do with monarchs as well. So awesome. Hey, and next slide is we do actually have a pollinator working group section on the NINFO website shown here. Charlie did a pretty good job over the last year of maintaining our blog, where we try to post some of the materials that go out to the working group here. And here there's information about the charter and what we do, a few links to resources, and most importantly, the arrow is pointing to the box where you can sign up for our working group mailing list, and you'll automatically become a working group member and can vote and do all those kinds of things that members do.
Doug,
Yes,
I put a link to your working group page in the chat. So people can just click that and go right there.
Oh, Bill, thank you. Yeah, you're always super about doing that. Appreciate it. Okay. Some other DoD resources for pollinators that are out there is on DNX, our stovepipe counterparts there, and DoD Natural Resources, Ryan Orndorff's group, Derek Goya and his team recently updated the pollinator site on DNX, right? That has some best management practices and some links to some policy and some other DoD pollinator related materials that are out there. So check that out if you get a chance. Know that it's out there. Send any suggestions to Derek Goya for anything you'd like to see added to that site. He could probably accommodate that. I come out of the Armed Forces Pest Management Board world. That's kind of another one of the stovepipes, same as Ryan, that works for the Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for energy and for the environment and energy resilience. So we also have a website there that has invasive species and pollinator resources, as well as a lot of stuff on vector control for the military at our website. And the pollinator stuff for us is found under the Natural Resources pull-down tab. And here on this site, we also have probably 35 or so technical guides covering various aspects of pest management, including some pollinator stuff.
What
that,
could
I'll
it
show here
be?
recently.
I don't know.
Yes, one person is not on mute. All right. So also, for those of you who may have forgot, or those of you who this might be their first meeting, haven't attended for a while, one of the outstanding DoD publications that's out there is one that was initially funded by AFCEC, by Kevin Portek's group there out of the Air Force. They had contracted with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to write this pollinator conservation reference guide for the Air Force initially. And the Air Force and Fish and Wildlife was kind enough to let the Pest Management Board make it a little bit more DoD centric and include some other services. But this technical guide that is just loaded with outstanding best management practice and pollinator guidance can be downloaded from the Pest Management Board website under our technical guides. So check that out and download that if you don't already have that in your files. And the other one I think is also available on the Fish and Wildlife site and probably the Air Force site as well. And so over the last few years, periodically, the co-chairs of the Pollinator Working Group have asked our members to provide examples of pollinator related projects that they're doing at the installation level, right? And some of those individuals that have chimed in the past have been speakers at our pollinator working groups at NIMFLA in the past for various showcasing of installation projects, and many of those are listed here. We did this again here in January and got about 5 super good responses of additional pollinator projects there at the bottom from Delaware and Travis and Beal, Aberdeen and Dahlgren with the Navy. But this is just probably a small sample of the outstanding work that's being done at our DoD installations. And if the members wouldn't mind, in the chat, I made a note on there earlier. If you're willing, if you could provide like just a little super brief summary of any pollinator related projects that you have on your installation and a POC. And if you're willing to do that, I suspect the co-chairs, we can copy and paste that information about those pollinator projects and POCs and distribute that to our pollinator working group mailing list. And that way, if any of you have questions about sources of seeds or best management practices or advice for how to get some of these projects funded and stuff, you can facilitate some peer-to-peer conversation and get some of that stuff done behind the scenes. So that's probably one of the most important parts about these working groups is to facilitate that peer-to-peer communication and be able to share ideas and practices for how to get things done. So so please, if you would, we enjoy having those examples of installation level pollinator projects that you might want to share and relevant POCs. So thank you all for that.
Thank you, Sir Mal, very much.
Yeah, no problem, sir.
During the member session every year, the working groups usually provide a slide of pollinator working group type activities for the various working groups that NIMFLA runs. And I apologize for anybody who had to listen to me ramble during my little pre-recorded spiel on protection. So we didn't do a whole lot this year. Really, there wasn't a whole lot of correspondence, but we did have a number of examples of individuals writing the working group for advice for various aspects. So we appreciate that. What I was going to do is maybe turn it over to Charlie, and we'll monitor the chat. And this working group session is for you. It's your opportunity to express your desires for future training or technical sessions, or discuss issues, anything from listed species challenges to seed sources to the importance, the validity of using bee boxes, to the pros and cons of having apiaries on your installations, or whatever it is that you want to talk about. And I'll turn it over to Charlie to see if he has any thoughts and wants to kick off the discussion of anything the group wants to talk about.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. So yeah, if so for now, anyone that has any pollinator related issues that's relevant to them or their installations, whether that be with policy issues or not issues but stories, outreach, if you have any funding challenges, some useful methods of obtaining funding for projects. And then we'd also like to hear if anyone has any ideas for future NIMFLA trainings or technical sessions that we could host in the future. So if anyone would like to chime in, you can use the chat or just unmute yourselves. We'd be happy to talk about it. I did see that Anne-Marie posted in the chat the link to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife monarch butterfly species status assessment. So if anyone wants to take a look at that, it's in the chat on Pathable. And also, go ahead, Doug.
Oh, yeah, I was just looking on here and yeah, from Wendy Prestera, she was asking,
reptiles.
let's see,
For military ops may not result in an ecosystem benefit.
She writes, Cardinal blue butterfly habitat management via pine barrens restoration and lupin planting. We are allied with NA Fish and Game, who have a captive rearing program on our base. Oh, you know what? That's not really a question. I'm so sorry. I read the wrong question. Okay.
I have a question
Wendy,
here.
yeah, Wendy writes, does anybody have any experience with relocating My monitor keeps bouncing all over the place. Charlie, can you see Wendy's question okay from
Yeah,
your
I have
end?
it here.
Yeah.
We're looking to allow beekeeping on base at Camp Pendleton as a means of relocating bees from problem areas. Does anyone have any experience with this? Any pros, cons, best management practices, lessons learned, information regarding competition between native versus non-native bees?
I'll say that if they're honeybees, over 90% of all the honeybees in San Diego County are Africanized or hybrids of, and they can be quite dangerous. They kill people and animals every year just in California. So make sure that that's looked at really carefully.
Rob, this is Wendy. So we are hiring, well, we're looking to hire a company that is their specialty is to do bee removals, and they go into areas where the bees are causing problems, largely in housing areas, but also some of our facilities. And so that's the problem, is that these bees they're in places where people are, and so we're trying to get them out. And they're looking at doing, it's actually a really neat idea to do beekeeping for the veterans, to teach them beekeeping practices and allow them to then learn how to keep these bees. So we're looking at areas that aren't near people. I'm just wondering if everyone's done this so that we have an idea of what we're getting into. And the beekeepers, they're all really aware of the Africanized issue here. I'm part of the Beekeeping Association in San Diego County, and it's they're very clear on what we need to do and requeening and how to manage that problem. So I'm not as worried about that as I am just some of these other, if anyone's done anything like this.
Yeah, thanks for the explanation, Wendy. That helps a lot. But I remember showing up at the construction kickoff for the paintball park at Camp Pendleton, and they rented a bunch of earth moving equipment, and there was a hive of Africanized bees in one of the pieces of equipment. And when they fired it up and everyone's on site, a guy had to go to the hospital. Like everybody got stung, and it shut down the project. It was a milk-on. So I feel you, but good luck.
Thanks, Rob.
This is Bob Shellman at Naval Weapon Station Seal Beach, and I'll just chime in with the challenges we've had. Is that we have an apiarist on site who is associated with our ag outlease program, and he's in the past, and this is talking 15, 18 years ago, he would take those problem hives, problem swarms, and he would incorporate them into his own stock, and that was a good win-win for the installation and for him. But that has changed completely now that, as Rob said, there's more and more of the Africanized hybridization going on, and also the concerns about moving any pathogens. So he will not take any of those problem swarms, and he just wants to keep his stock clean and free of that. So we've had to turn to removal companies to take care of problem issues, and so I just throw that as a data point that we don't have a solution like that, even though we have a active apiarist on the installation.
That's a really good point, Bob. Thank you. I hadn't thought about that being part of why, because these guys they're very active in the beekeeping community. They all have their own hives and colonies and outyards, but maybe that's why they want to keep them on Camp Pendleton. I thought part of it was just for cost. It's easier to have some areas on base to move things to, but that could be another part of the reasoning. We're just trying to avoid killing all these bees if it makes sense to do it.
Hi, Wendy. Wendy, this is Cece Dahlstrom. At some point offline, I work with the ag program, and we are looking into more apiary leases. So maybe I would be your point of contact if we did a lease through the ag program for something like that.
Thanks, Cece. I didn't know you worked in this area. That's awesome. I'll give you a call.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
Rhiannon Pamela here from Fort Campbell. We decided to not proceed with having beehives on Fort Campbell just because of the forage competition with native bees, as well as the potential pathogen spillover. So whenever we have swarms, we just contact our local county extension and have them reach out to local beekeepers to come pick up honeybees. But we were more worried about native bee health versus the honeybees.
I appreciate that. That was one of my concerns. Do you happen to have any papers or just anything that talks about that? Like, have we put out in the working group any kind of white papers about it? I have limited access.
Yeah, can you post your email in the chat box and I'll send you all that I have on that, because we did some pretty extensive research on it before we made that decision, because there was a lot of interest in providing a veteran program for beekeeping. And just personally, I just wasn't comfortable with it, because I feel like our goal was to protect the native species that we have. But I'll send that to you, Wendy. Thanks.
Thank you. I posted my email there, so if anyone else has ideas before we need to move on, there's my contact. Please reach out. I'd love to talk with you. I can post my phone number there too, although I'm using my personal cell phone, so I'd kind of prefer not to.
All right, hey, we're approaching 12:30. I think the session will go on for an additional 10 minutes before it abruptly cuts off. So just FYI.
I think there is another working group at the half hour. So if anyone needs to go over to that, then please jump over.
And one of the earlier email strings that we got from the working group, one of our members wrote a pretty extensive email about the kind of the disadvantage of having honeybees on base for their because of the competition with the native bees, particularly when resources are scarce, and the potential for parasite transmission to some of the natives. So there's pros and cons of going either way.
Hey, Dave, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I just wanted to mention an interesting fact I learned a couple of years ago. I believe, and I can't remember if it was from the researchers that I worked with from the University of Missoula, Montana, who were training bees to locate in the lab to locate EOD devices through nectar association training in the lab. And so they were looking at speeding up the cleaning of some of these old training sites that had still some buried EODs and other artillery explosives on the field. And it really helped to locate those things very quickly just by use of the bee movement and radar. Very interesting work they did. And so they were interested in getting beehives on Camp Pendleton, on Malmstrom Air Force Base, so that they could help them with their work to test it out.
Yeah, super interesting. If you've got a link to that, put it in the chat and we can send it out to the working group.
Okay, I'll try, but it might not come in time for you guys before you close your meeting.
No, you can still post to the chat even if the meeting's closed.
Okay, all right, that's great, thanks.
All right.
It's a good point in the chat here. Any other installations dealing with excessive deer browse? It's one of our biggest challenges for many projects, including pollinator habitat.
Oh,
interesting. I never considered that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hit refresh. I don't see that on mine. That's it as a cool thing.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to talk about or mention? A few more minutes here before we get kicked off.
Brian and Pamphil again. I'd be interested in seeing like a standardized protocol that we could use in evaluating the vegetation? Like as we're restoring these fields, are we creating the habitat that we want? And how are the native pollinator populations reacting to that over time?
Well, so this is Jessup. I have a quick one on that. We have a veg monitoring program that we do for corners here in Fort McCoy, and we have a very set standard for that. So if you just want to put your email in the chat there, I will jot that down. I'll send you our veg monitoring data, or not data, but I'll send you our protocol for that and see if that would maybe work for you for what you're looking at.
Thank you.
No problem.
I also see in the chat here, Tiffany asked if anyone has worked with local schools or youth organizations to grow native plants for restoration and or pollinator gardens. I can speak that on Fort Hood, we've had a lot of outreach events with local school groups, Girl Scout organizations, also homeschool events as well, where we work together to plant native seeds in our native grassland pollinator demonstration area. So we've had some good success with working with the community in that regard.
Rhiannon from Fort Campbell. I've done a lot of gardens, and I find that the hardest part is kind of the turnover rate of interest. So one year you'll have a teacher that's really interested and willing to put forth the effort in creating the garden, but then he or she leaves and the garden's kind of left fallow. And then the other problem we've noticed is that principals don't like an ugly set of, or an ugly area. So when those sites overwinter, you kind of want to leave that grass and flowers and stems standing. You want to leave that dead material there for those nesting bees and butterflies. So that's something to think of, let them know of what that area is going to look like year round, and then finding someone who really wants to take that on year after year.
Yeah, that's a good point, because definitely, a messy garden is not necessarily an unhealthy garden, but a lot of people see it that way, and they don't like, all the dead vegetation from the previous year. But it's really vital to a lot of species of pollinators. So trying to find a way to encourage people to leave their gardens for the winter and then clean it up when it gets warmer in the spring is really important.
Yeah, I just want to know that there's a lot of really good discussions in the chat, and again, this chat will continue even after the session's over. And if there's any really good stuff in here, especially some of the pollinator projects and POCs, anyone can copy and paste these, but as a working group, we can copy and paste and send these out to the working group.
So I'm new to the working group. Do we meet on a regular basis, or is this just a once a year kind of thing?
It's a once a year formal type of thing, but the working group membership list, you can correspond with that group anytime you want for seeking advice of your peers for a particular problem, and they're super responsive. Anytime people have posed questions or issues in the past to the working groups, they've always members have always been super good about getting back quickly with the information that somebody needs. All right. Yeah, I know in 2 minutes this this session is just going to end abruptly. Anybody have any last alibis before our 2 minutes are up? And if not, congratulations, Jessup. Charlie, keep doing what you're doing, man. It's awesome. We'd be happy to post any of your success stories that you might have. If you've got newspaper articles or whatever on the Pest Management Board website, we're glad to do that. It's like there's a few of them already that are posted in the chat. And just don't forget to fill out the polls that are on there for Charlie and Jessup. All right, working group members. Most appreciate your participation. I guess we had 162 participants. That's pretty awesome. All right, everybody, stay in touch.
Thanks, Doug. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Doug.